What is up, guys? It is AJ from MMA Experts, and we are talking about the fight between Bryce Mitchell and Andre Fili. What actually happened? This is the full fight breakdown. So let's talk about round one. Absolutely dominant fashion Bryce Mitchell was in. He takes down Andre Fili numerous times, has the full mount multiple times through the round. But I got to give credit where credit is due. Andre Fili is a durable guy, and he's got very good submission defense. And just positionally, yes, Bryce was able to get in these extremely dominant positions, but Andre Fili was able to get back up to his feet numerous times in that round. But granted, the positional dominance was very significant here, and personally, I gave round one 10-8. Now, round number two, a lot more competitive. I'll be honest, Andre Fili started touching him up a bit on the feet. He was able to defend a few takedowns, but still Bryce Mitchell was the aggressor. To me, I like to give the round to the guy that has the effect of aggressiveness. Obviously, yes, Andre Fili had some decent counters, but not enough to give him the round. So for me, round two is a 10-9 for Bryce Mitchell. Now, round number three comes around, and it's another good round. Still not as dominant as round number one was, but Bryce Mitchell was able to get Fili to the ground. Granted, there was a couple scrambles, and Fili was able to get a decent position for moments, but still, Fili was really not able to do anything significant in this fight. Granted, on the feet, there's always a chance Fili could do some damage to Bryce Mitchell, who's, a grappler, who's got developing striking, and he's constantly getting better, but his specialty is obviously grappling. Still, round number three, again, I gave it to Bryce Mitchell. So to me, 30-26 for Bryce Mitchell. Granted, I understand maybe even a 29-27 scorecard, but the official judges actually gave no 10-8 round in round number one. But I don't know, according to the new judging system, I felt like it should have been. He was completely shut out in that entire round. But hey, the judges, that's what they scored it. 29-28 for Bryce Mitchell. One of the judges had it, and then the other two had it 30-27 for Bryce Mitchell. Huge win for Bryce, who now is moving into the upper echelon of the featherweight division. I don't know just yet if I want to see him fight a guy like Edson Barboza, who's ranked ahead of him at 14, or Dan Ige. I don't really want to see him in those matchups just yet. I do think he has the potential to fight any of, the top guys, right? Eventually, but he's still a young developing prospect. If I have to give a name, when I look through the rankings, I personally like the idea potentially of the Sodiq Yusuff fight. I think that's a winnable matchup, but Yusuff is very nasty on the feet. Also, Hakeem Dawodu, that fight I like too. I like both those matchups. I think they're both potentially next for Bryce Mitchell, but neither is an easy fight, and I think they'd both be very competitive. But especially against Hakeem Dawodu, I could potentially see Bryce's grappling coming into the factor there, and even against Sodiq. But we'll see. I don't know. I think Bryce looked good against Fili, but Fili is a very stern test. I'd like to see Bryce maybe take one more fight against somebody unranked just to help him develop a bit more. He's a young, undefeated prospect, and I don't want to see the UFC rush him to the top too soon and then, see him catch too many losses early on. But granted, if he does catch a loss, it's not the end of the world. MMA, you're able to bounce back from losses. Very few fighters retire undefeated. Now, for Andre Fili, disappointing loss to say the least, but I will give him credit where credit is due. He was extremely durable. I will quickly pull up the rankings because I do want to also give you an opponent which I feel could be next for Andre Fili. I think he's a really fun guy to watch at featherweight. I think he's really fun to watch when he fights strikers. You saw him beat Charles Jourdain, who's a pretty damn good striker. But looking down at the rankings, for me, if I have to give him a matchup, grappler, that would kind of be a tough fight, but I would give him Makwan Amirkhani. That's one option, who just lost to Edson Barboza. But if I'm looking for, a potentially more competitive guy that's gonna maybe keep it on the feet, but still, there's a lot of grapplers just in this weight class. As I'm looking at the top 25 of the featherweight division, there's a lot of good grapplers. For me, maybe you give him Nick Lentz, who's, yes, an Asian guy, hasn't really looked great as of late, still competitive against guys. But for me, I think those are the two options. It's either Makwan Amirkhani or Nick Lentz. The UFC could go a totally different direction because Andre Fili, is outside of that top 15. He could verse anybody in the top 50 of the UFC featherweight rankings. But I do think he could get some potential wins and find himself back fighting for a top 15 spot. But Bryce Mitchell, the grappling was just a bit too much for him, but Andre Fili will always be a very fun guy to watch in this UFC featherweight division. But that is pretty much it for this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the what actually happened full fight breakdown of Bryce Mitchell versus Andre Fili. Make sure you guys smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Also, guys, follow my social media, Instagram, Twitter, and I'll see you all in the next video.